It's my great pleasure to welcome President Roza Otunbayeva of Kyrgyzstan back to Columbia University. I will not take the valuable time we have with President Otunbayeva to go through the details of her distinguished political career, especially since you will find a summary of her biography in the program. I will note, however, that since Kyrgyzstan declared its independence as the Republic of Kyrgyzstan on August 31st, 1991, in the wake of the 1991 August coup in Moscow, which foreshadowed the collapse of the Soviet Union, Roza Otunbayeva has played a key role in the evolution of Kyrgyz politics, most notably in what have been termed the first and second tulip revolutions. When the first, in April 2005, following in the wake of the Rose Revolution in Georgia and the Orange Revolution in Ukraine, the preceding year, ousted the authoritarian regime of President Oscar Akayev, President Otunbayeva served for several months as acting foreign minister in the subsequent interim government, and during that time made her first visit to Columbia University. 5 years later, as the first tulip revolution had wavered in its promise, in April 2010, civil unrest broke out in protest against President Kurbanbek's government, and a transition government led by former Foreign Minister Roza Otunbayeva took control. She was sworn in as president on July 3rd, 2010. Since then, she has struggled valiantly to promote the growth of democracy and transparency in her country while facing extraordinary challenges from legacies of the past and ethnic strife. She, by agreement, did not run in the 2011 presidential election, and her term as president will end on December 31st, 2011. This makes her the first leader in Central Asia to voluntarily cede office. While most certainly her service to her country will not stop on that date, it is to be... Oh, thank you. Have you been able to hear me, I hope? It is to be hoped that she will have more time to travel, and we will not have to wait another 5 years before seeing her at Columbia again to share her ongoing rich experience. In April 2011, President Otunbayeva accepted a Women of Courage Award from Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. I think the title of that award, Woman of Courage, aptly describes our speaker today. And I ask you to join me in extending our warmest thanks to President Otunbayeva for making time to share her thoughts with us today. Thank you.
Dear students, everyone who came to my lecture, I came just from the JFK airport, actually. So it's for my team here, it is something unusual coming straight to the university, because in our trips over this 1.5 years, we've been in New York. This is our third time in New York. And all the time we are around the United Nations, in United Nations. And my country was in quite a difficult position over this time, as you know. The United Nations and the world community helped us a lot over this time. We badly needed this assistance. All the international community was very generous, especially last year, June 2010, when we got the interethnic conflict in Kyrgyzstan. I came to tell you what's happened with my country over this period. One and more than 1.5 years. I want to tell you that not the 31st of December, but 1st of December is the time to pass my presidency to Mr. Atambayev, elected president of Kyrgyzstan. And Catherine, it's actually the last my trip in my capacity of president of Kyrgyzstan. That was certainly transition such a status in some way, although the work which I got, the job which I got, it was the most difficult one probably in our 20 years of independence. This year, 2011, all the post-Soviet countries, they celebrate the 20th anniversary of their independence. And each of us, we have passed different stories. Some of our countries are very successful, economically just as successful as Kazakhstan and probably Russia also. And some of us are in jam, like Kyrgyzstan. Over these 20 years, we've been in disarray, in difficulties, and last year, 2010, it was quite a tragic moment in our history that it was time when everyone has suspected that country will split and the unity of countries under question. And we thought that really south, north, Uzbek, Kyrgyz, rich and poor, everyone will go apart. It started April 7, 2010. The lecture today has a name, Did Arab Spring started in Kyrgyzstan? Yes, when we do hear a lot of stories of today and every day today on CNN and other TV channels of the world, you would see all the stories in the Northern Africa and Middle East. We do compare everything, what's happened to us in Kyrgyzstan. April 7, 2010, in my country, that is a tragic day. From the windows, from the roof of the White House, the governmental building, about 100 people been shot, and 90 dead. More than several hundreds of people they injured, and that was the price which we paid for our strive to live in freedom. Bakiyev's government, Bakiyev was the second president after Akayev in 20 years. He was trying to privatize the power. His son was almost heir to his throne. And for 6 times our constitution has changed, and all the time in the sake of the president and his power. The last one, and I was in a position in the parliament, the last one was really such a very, very terrible attempt to make not a succession as to the heir, to the son of Bakiyev, and a lot of other things which been done in Kyrgyzstan. they started to privatize everything, selling for nothing our energy sector and other lucrative such businesses. And Parliament was totally, out of 90, 71 belonged to the governing party, Akjol, and that was absolutely typical story for the post-Soviet country. And everyone is asking today, why Kyrgyzstan? Why we got through 2005 and then 2010? Why we are such an impatient country in some way? Why we are not such a not comfortable, but a country which should go as any other countries? I think my answer is that starting from 1990, the freedom, the strife for freedom, it got very deep into our souls, and we never stopped. We tried to do our best, and that's why in early 90s, you would hear in the United States that my country is Isle of Democracy. Akay was called here in the United States as such a, one of very democratically developed leaders in Central Asia. But unfortunately, in 2005, when the whole family started to rule the country, the wife, the kids, so the patience of the people came to the end, and Akayev has left the country under the pressure of opposition. 2010 was another story. That was not just a simple mistake, but Kiev became even more cruel than Akayev in some way that, as I told you, his story was tougher. 2010, April 7, opposition tried to have a crueltize the gatherings throughout the country. Opposition was under such a, all of them, they've been became put behind the bars, and on 7th, people came to the square, and snipers shot on people. That was the tragedy, but of the same night we came to the White House, and we have decided that we'll build the interim government, and we have decided that the government will lead the country until we'll have the parliamentary elections in 6 months, and we'll introduce new constitution. New constitution was introduced in 3 months, and so we have turned to the parliamentary country. People ask why straight from the presidential to the parliamentary country we have turned. That was necessary to do, because we couldn't go further with the presidential governance. Presidential governance in my country has exhausted. We have seen in 20 years that power was totally privatized by presidents. We have decided that nobody can privatize the constitution, changing via referendums 7 times. The 7th attempt was just in the queue. The constitution was introduced in 3 months. We got a referendum. People tell today that they didn't vote for for me, as president, my name was put there in this referendum. Yes, the people voted for stability. On 27th of June 2010, we got a referendum, and in October 10, 2010, we got the parliamentary elections. Parliamentary elections been the best, I can tell you, with the proud in the whole our region. Elections been transparent, open, and we try to do everything just in front of the eyes on the screen. The whole night, numbers come from every corner of the country. OSCE delegation, all the observation missions of the European Union, PASE, all of them, they considered that the elections been fair and open. Just recently, as you know, we got our presidential elections, and our promise was to make this election open and free elections. Certainly, there have been a lot of problems and complaints on the side of opposition, but opposition presented by three politicians actually, they've been front runners. Atambayev, the elected president today, two others, Tashiv and Madumarov, both are also, they've been very such a high figures in Bakiyev governments. So their complaint was that the Atambayev used administrative resource. And I must tell you that Tashiv, who's the leader of the fraction in the parliament, he is part of the coalition, and he has probably a third of ministers in the government, and he can't complain regarding the administrative resource. And moreover, I must tell you that over these 20 years, we didn't have other elections, other type of elections, as just with the use of administrative resources. And to tell one day that you can't use this, it is really absolutely such a big change, and that was almost done, because none of us, we've been asked, pressurized the people to use such an administrative resource. Usually teachers, usually doctors will go and work for the person who is on the helm. So today, we would say that presidential elections, been almost really such a, with all the problems which you've read in the OSCE report of those elections, been again the best in the region. Opponents complain about the incorrectness in the list of register list. Yes, we just moved to another system. System is new because we used to vote by propiska, and this time we have changed this, that people will go to vote in the place where they live, and it made a lot of problems overall for the registration and for the whole of system. So those are the scope of the problem which we have passed over these elections. But generally, in 1 year and 7 months, we got through very difficult 3 heights: referendum, parliamentary elections, and presidential elections. And certainly, I can't believe today how it's happened, because time was very difficult. Difficult because of this conflict in between, interethnical conflict in Osh. Uzbek and Kyrgyz communities. On June 10, 2010, they got in struggle and their blood split over, and we had an absolutely terrible time. Hundreds and hundreds of people left over to Uzbekistan, but in 2 weeks they came back. That was really a very, very difficult story, and I was the head of interim government. I became alone because everyone went for the elections, and we had a time when we were supposed to fix everything, this interethnic conflict, to have a referendum, to prepare ourselves to the elections, parliamentary elections, and to repair all the housing, because so many houses and businesses been fired and burned down. And the international community came to help us. A lot of assistance given to us, and we are so thankful to the United States, to Japan, to Germany, to other countries, and to all the international organizations. This time was a time of such a of very, very big testimony for the whole nation, because country was just at the verge of split for the south and north. Bakiyev was from the south, and sounds like a lot of southern elite, they've been opposing to the interim governments, thinking that why you don't give the time for Bakiyev to rule forever, let's say. And north and south, we thought that this is something forever. And this time, when we had a presidential election, we had quite a headache. We thought that south and north, it is such a serious divide within the nation. But results of this election has shown that the nation, the people, they are smarter than politicians. They are wiser. They are much higher than all of us. People voted for the politician from the north, for Atambayev. He got in Osh Oblast, he was #1. In Osh city, he was #1. In Jalalabad Oblast, overall, he was #2. And in Batken Oblast, he was #3. Those are southern oblasts in Kyrgyzstan. So he got 62% of the people who came to vote. And overall, I must tell you that he became leader of the nation. He got most of the votes of people who voted this time. Today, certainly, everything is now behind us. This story is a difficult one. Again, I'll repeat and repeat. The conflict in the south, it was a revenge for the April 7, when people died in the square. Bakiyev went back to Jalalabad, and they made everything to spill over the blood in the south also. And these days we are trying to heal these wounds and to bring those two communities together. All the housing is repaired and reconstructed. People got in the first winter temporary housing. Now they are building just a normal housing. Of course, a lot of problems we have in the south of Kyrgyzstan. A lot of people left their homes. As you know, Kyrgyzstan has high migration. We consider that more than 500,000 people are in migration in Russia and Kazakhstan. Most of them, they work there. And Uzbeks also, they left. I must confess you that we have a lot of difficulties with this matters of justice, rule of law. We got today 3,000 such cases which are under investigation, and this problem is still with us. But there is a reform of the court system and underway, under progress. That's what we have started to do. And that was the most difficult reform which country goes with. You can, now we have the parliament which is on place. We have the government which was, as you know, probably, audience, I'm sure that you know, and you read and follow events in Kyrgyzstan. We have 5 fractions within our parliament, and almost a year have passed now, and parliament works. This is multi-party parliament. And 3 fractions together, they build coalition, and everyone thought that it will not work, and it is difficult today. They don't know all the rules of the game, sometimes those new parliamentarians. And multi-party parliament is quite a difficult business to run. But nevertheless, today, after 1 year, I must tell you that it works, it goes on and on. I struggle with them. I'm the president with limited functions. It's not like a president in neighboring countries who has all the power in his hands. So parliament is there. We have a government built by the 3 fractions, by the coalition, and government was quite, I would say, successful. 9% growth for 9 months of this year. It's not bad, I do believe. There is a deficit of budget for sure. The government and the Prime Minister has promised that they will cover the deficit of budget up to the end of this year. So we are keep going with all these problems, but we have a parliament, we have a government present with the limited functions. Now there is a time to do the reform of the court system, and that's what we have started to do. It is a difficult job because this is exactly the concentration of the totalitarian system in the past. Very difficult to soften this, to change this concentration, and we have in Kyrgyzstan 445 judges, and time to re-elect and select those who can run the business. Otherwise, we want to clean up the system. And the same with the Prosecutor General's office, the same with the Interior Ministry. We have announced January 2011, the war against the organized crime. And I must tell you openly, we have succeeded in many ways. more than 160 people, they are heads of organized crime in the regions of Kyrgyzstan. We put them behind the bars now. They are in one place. We have built a special place, and we put them there, and we put such a dish above the prison. They can't communicate via mobile phones, and that was crucial for these presidential elections also. The criminals, they've been right after the collapse of the power of Bakiyev, April 2010, they've been just among us. They've been very much involved in Bakiyev's time into the politics. And we suffered a lot from the criminals. And now I've been recently on the Militia Day. It is 10th of November, usually we celebrate. And militia is today strong, free. They feel themselves very well because they've been under such a pressure of criminals. Criminals were sort of telling them, you guys, just do what I will command you to do. Now they feel themselves again as on the business, on their right business. And I hope that will provide such a politics in future also oppressing of the criminals. Dear students, dear friends, this is quite a turbulent story in Kyrgyzstan over this 1.5 years which we have passed, what's happened to us, how it was. I think our story was so far successful. We have built all the branches of the power starting from the scratch. Everything was on floor, the power has fallen, but we have built today from all the power. People have chosen parliamentarian or president by direct vote of the people. And in Central Asia, overall, Kyrgyzstan shows that, yes, we should trust to the people. People, they give the whole power to those people elected. And now, of course, it depends very much from our parliament, from the president, how they would go with this power. And we do realize that every day we must struggle, every day we should fight for the freedom, for democracy, and it's not the it is not a business finished. It's not a deeds finished yet, and I do consider that our case is really quite a successful, but doesn't mean that everything is over. We must work every day, we must work, we must have a strategy, and I do know that the president and the parliament, they do feel that there are a lot of work to do, and Kyrgyzstan is on the way to its progress. I think I would rather have now more questions from you than I would tell you. Thank you.
I'm going to moderate so that President Otunbayeva can be comfortable and sit down. Now, I believe there's a traveling microphone, am I right? Okay, so if you would like to ask a question. It is right there. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. It wasn't there before. You moved it there. Okay, well then I will ask people to line up at the microphone. And please identify yourselves and your affiliation. And please confine yourselves to questions.
Thank you for your inspiring remarks, President Otunbayeva. My name is Scott Horton from the law school. And I'd like to ask you to develop a little bit more the end of your remarks. You were talking about restructuring the legal system, and you began talking about the Arab Spring. Well, a lot of us who've studied the Arab Spring would say that one thing that's distinguished it has been the demand for accountability, very sharp demand for accountability. We saw that in Tunisia with Ben Ali. We are seeing it in Egypt even today with demands for accountability, the same in Libya. But in Kyrgyzstan, we had horrible crimes, which you described. We had the pilfering of the state's treasury done by President Bukiev and also by his son, Maxim. But today, President Bukiev is in Belarus, and his son is seen in all the fanciest restaurants in London, hobnobbing with Russian oligarchs. So it doesn't seem that there's really any effort by Kyrgyzstan to deal with them and make them accountable for what happened. So perhaps you could give us a sense of what Kyrgyzstan is doing or intends to do.
Thank you. Scott, you can sit probably. Thank you. So I have started to tell you about the reform in the court system, and it is our foot Achilles because Kyrgyzstan is not anymore part of this Millennium Challenge program of the United States program. So we want to be, but because we've been so behind with the court system, we've been excluded. I told you that we have 445 judges, and we just started to do this reform, which means that we built a constitutional body, selection of the judges commission. So a commission of the selection of judges, and it was done not well. It was a bit wrong done, and that's why there is a jam of the parliament has built this such a way that all these 5 fractions, they want to push their peoples, and then we would have a core of judges, very particized sort of. 5 fractions will have their own judges there. So, I mean, in Supreme Court, for example, we have 35 judges in the Supreme Court, and 5 fractions will have their judges. I can't believe it. So, and I stopped this. Now, the new president will get everything, he'll start from clean sheet and go ahead. And I was in the war with the parliament, stopping all this exercise, what they want to do. So, in other words, we are ready to do this cleanup of the of the system. So, and I'm sure that President will do his best. I was very furious, and I was doing many things which people overall liked. I have examined judges myself also with my assistants, and I have seen with myself that such people absolutely not ready to be judges. They applied and they tried to become judges. Up to 70, they will be untouchable, and people who have been not ready to be judges. So anyway, we are going to do this serious work first. Secondly, you mentioned about the Bakiev's family and overall. Look, this is really, we don't have now reputation among the international community that of London, for example, or Britain, they think that they would not give us Maxim Bakiyev, they would not extradite him because our court system doesn't require to the international standards. Certainly doesn't require today, so doesn't meet those international standards. But what is the difference of Maxim Bakiyev and Saif Gaddafi? I don't see any difference. So this is the same. Bakiyev has shot all those people, and certainly will have one day also the history will develop, and unfortunately or fortunately, look, all these stories in Latin America, after decades and decades, it comes to the court, all these stories. And we do think that, look, 20 years old, we are 20 years old. It's just a young country, and the system we have started, as I told you, this is our first experience overall in Central Asia when we have built parliament in pretty much clean elections. Parliament has built the government and so on. You would not find anything close to that in overall in the whole region. So, and we can't get straight now to the court system and to build up this. But anyway, this is all our strives to do everything, and I hope that we would bring all those people, especially those who are given the instruction to kill, the brother of Bakiyev and others. Interpol, for example, considers that it's I'm talking about Sutalinov, I'm talking about Janusz Bakiyev, about Bakiyev himself, that it's politically motivated deal, and that's why they can't they can't look after them. I just don't. Why they don't say about this regarding others, such figures in Northern Africa or in Middle East? So, I mean, look, we are really very much today involved in our own affairs. We can't. We don't have yet. Time and strength to look around a bit. I mean, we should gather everything within our home and put in order in home. So now we have president elected, and the whole transition period is over. So now I hope that we'll find the time to put everything together.
Please come up.
Elvira Amantaeva, Artec Alumni Organization. I have two questions to you. The first one, small manufacturers of goods like textiles in Kyrgyzstan lost their business since Russia and Kazakhstan put into effect customs union restrictions. These manufacturers are now concerned that if Kyrgyzstan also joins the union, they will regain those markets but lose access to the cheap raw materials from China. They need to produce goods at competitive prices. How can Kyrgyzstan solve this problem and develop its own manufacturing capacity? This is my first question. And my second question, as I mentioned, I represent Artec Alumni Organization, and every year we organize international events and festivals for students in Artec, where young diplomats, parliamentarians, and journalists get together from 50 countries and work together, trying to solve some issues through joint projects, arts, sports. And I know that you've been in Artec twice. And for me, in my opinion, the fact that at the critical moment for Kyrgyzstan, you stood up and led the country, for me, it's a step that reflects the spirit of a true Artekovets. Roza Isakovna, do you think all these projects might remain as nice memories of attempts of young children playing grown-up games, or Artek does have influence on identity formation of an individual? Thank you.
Artek is part of our Soviet memory, and that was really a sort of сказка, you know, the tale for children in the past. Today it's in my country even not achievable because it's far away, it's expensive. We have a school and we can have everything in this school. Unfortunately, we just can't go there, seems to me. Although Ukrainian ambassador, by the way, he invites some of the children, and I would certainly support any such a trip, any program there. So we want to develop even internal tourism within the country between north and south. This is important for the unity of the nation. And you can't imagine that I'm talking about one nation. It is not different nations when we are talking about the north and south. Of course, there are a lot of problems in any country with all sorts of splits. But in Kyrgyzstan, it is the same nation, the same religion, the same language, and just a geographical difference between north and south, and it's politicized very much by politicians. So the first question regarding regarding manufacturers, regarding the such a development, I understand. You see, we have 300,000 women who are engaged in producing apparels for Russia and Kazakhstan. So we are successful. We have built this industry. And today, I think this audience will be interested very much where Kyrgyzstan goes, to the Eurasian Union or to the Customs Union, whatever. This is the question. This is the real question in my country today. So we are approaching to this Customs Union. There is no, I don't see there is much choice. As you know, probably, we have a border with China, 1,000-kilometer border with China. My country is transit country for the whole Central Asia, bring goods from China over to Russia. And our neighbors in China, Xinjiang, Uyghur region, it's very, very promising region now. A lot of investment now given by Chinese government to put to the Xinjiang Uyghur region. Very, very quickly growing region. So my country has benefited from that a lot over the years, over these 20 years. Although I have recently found that volume is about just 2 billion of trade between Kyrgyzstan and China. 10 billion is Kazakhstan and China's trade. Trade overall China with the CS countries, it's not a big number. And when everyone is very concerned that why Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan and others, they go approaching toward to the customs union, I must tell you, it's really, for us, it is a very important direction. The movement of capital, movement of labor force, movement of finances, everything goes toward to Russia, toward to Kazakhstan. Everything what produced in Bishkek, in Kyrgyzstan, has a market in Kazakhstan and in Russia. All our migrants are working in Russia, in Kazakhstan. So, I mean, not much choice. Probably I respond a bit differently, but this is what I want to tell you.
Thank you, President Otunbayeva. My name is Alexander Cooley here at Barnard College and the Harriman Institute. And of course, I've written extensively in my own research about the Manas base. I'm not going to ask you the question about the future of the Manas base. Rather, I want to ask you a question about the U.S. and the Manas base and its relations with Kyrgyzstan. And we know over the last 2 years that perhaps at best the U.S. lost interest in everything else except preserving the base. At worst, supported and made excuses for some of President Bakiyev's more repressive moves and placated some of his son's business dealings. And we also know from survey data and opinion polling conducted by social scientists that the U.S. image and credibility in Kyrgyzstan has taken quite a big hit as a result. The U.S. is accused of supporting double standards, of only looking out for its interests and so forth. What would your advice be, and what has it been, to U.S. officials about re-engaging with Kyrgyzstan? How can the United States regain, if not the trust, then the credibility and some legitimacy, especially with the younger generations in Kyrgyzstan? And do you see the U.S. as having a role to play as Kyrgyzstan pivots back into the orbit of Russia and Kazakhstan? Thank you.
Alexander, you are asking that, you're putting this question like, we have such a long-term perspective, and in my country we consider that we have an agreement 2014 between US and Russia, in Kyrgyzstan, sorry. And we do hope that after, and when time will come, this will be converted to the civil airport, transit airport. This is pretty much the opinion which is worked out now. So, but certainly, to my belief, today we are making our best to fix the problem in Afghanistan. So all of us in this neighborhood, we are doing everything what we can do. And as you know, a lot of now goods are coming via northern of those routes, and airport Manas is absolutely crucial, critical point on this way. So United States and Kyrgyzstan has a lot of things in common, apart of this Manas airport, as you know. And in 20 years, American embassy was one of the first embassies. And in 20 years, we got such a rich history of our relations and communications. And you've been with us in very difficult days, not just shiny days. And we've learned a lot. Our young generation came to the United States. So many good scholarships you offered to our kids. We have American University in Central Asia, based in Bishkek. And our mass media is owed a lot to the United States because they learned all the standards of the free mass media. I didn't tell this over my lecture that of civil society, mass media, those achievements which my society has, this is because of your contribution. So, I mean, look, there is a young generation ready to live on new standards and in their strive to go to the civilized world. So I would say that I have I'm sure that we have a strong young generation which want to be part of this world. Of course, we must invest too much into the young people. There is a deterioration of education in my country also. and it needs a lot of investment, a lot of efforts. This is ongoing problems of development.
Our time is running short according to the published time, and so I would like to, okay, Golnar, why don't you be the second to last questioner, and I'm going to then claim the last question.
My name is Gulnar Kinderbay. I'm originally from Kazakhstan. I'm teaching here at Columbia University and Harman Institute. President Otunbayeva, thank you very much for your very interesting, insightful report. I was wondering, after you told us, gave us these glimpses on how bloody was indeed this conflict in Osh, and mentioned the contribution of Western countries, the United States, England, and others, in overcoming this conflict in terms of strengthening infrastructure, providing with means, funds, and so on and so forth. My immediate question, and really which struck my mind, was what was the contribution of the neighboring Central Asian countries, such as, for example, Uzbekistan, which was affected by this crisis, I suppose, and also of my country, Kazakhstan. How did they contribute in terms of overcoming this crisis? Did they provide with any kind of support, any assistance? Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Gulnar, certainly we are close neighbors, and Kazakhstan especially, a very, very close nation to Kyrgyzstan in many ways. I appreciate very much and value very much position of Uzbekistan and President Karimov, because over this conflict, the most important was that Uzbekistan has closed the border, tightly closed the border. And it means that this inter-ethnical conflict within Kyrgyzstan didn't spill over, and the conflict didn't become the war between two countries. That was crucial, absolutely. And otherwise, that was the danger also of that sort. So, and I have spoken to Mr. Karimov on 11th of June, and he said, please be sure that nobody will come from Uzbek side towards you. So, and that was absolutely helpful for us. Second thing, which was absolutely positive over this conflict, that he has allowed, he has offered the border for the Uzbek people living the Osh city and Jalalabad also on 11, 12th of June, when we couldn't handle with the fight between two communities, and they started to kill each other. And as you know, probably you've heard that more than 400 people died over this conflict, and we didn't have enough resources, we didn't have enough of militaries, militia who would stop, and people been really, he got mad and killing each other. So in such a minute, in such a time, Uzbekistan has opened their border, and Uzbek people, they left, it was probably 600, 700 people who left towards to Uzbekistan, and they lived there for 2 weeks, and they came back just before the referendum. So they came back, and they have they have attended this referendum also. So this contribution is unforgettable on the side of Uzbekistan, and that was, I can't measure this, I can't, this is really something absolutely important. On side of the same days, I was asking Kazakhstan also to help me with the anti-riot stuff, because we never used in Osh city such a anti-riot stuff. We never sort of militia didn't have any deal with such a bullets from как это резиновые пули, это что это?
Rubber bullet.
Да, yeah, rubber,
bullets.
yeah, and tire gas and that sort of so. And Kazakhstan also, they didn't have, and they said that probably this is stuff of military, sort of military stuff. We can't give this. Later on, of course, when we badly needed humanitarian such assistance, Kazakhstan also offered us grain and construction materials to rebuild the housing. So we appreciate very much this assistance.
I know that you're tired having just come from the airport, but I can't
No,
resist.
that's all right. The question is there.
Well, oh, okay. Well, well then go ahead. But I am going to have the last question. You just tell me when you get tired. Then.
Hello, President Otunbayeva. First of all, thank you so much for coming out tonight to speak to us and sharing your inspiring words. My name is Asalia Goldberg, and I'm a student in the college here. I'm very interested in humanitarian efforts and in service. And in light of what happened on April 7th, 2010, I'm interested in founding an organization or a club here on campus to contribute to humanitarian efforts and to really reach out and maybe help rebuild some of the areas, like you mentioned, housing, for example. I wonder if you could speak briefly about some of the efforts that are going on to rebuild, and also whether you could recommend any organizations that we could reach out to in helping found our club.
Well, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
I have an ambassador of my ambassador to the United Nations, Turkosunda, Talay Qadyrov. And I must tell you, I came also to the United Nations Peace Building Funds from Council of Trustees of this Peace Building Fund, and I'm going to ask them to support the efforts of our NGOs and communities back home who make their best efforts to build relations between two communities in the south of Kyrgyzstan, women to women, youngsters to young people to each other, and elderly to elderly, so all sorts of programs. And we have a lot of organizations based in the south of Kyrgyzstan, UNHCR, all the UN system of organizations, and national, like Caritas, very active there, and USAID, of course, and many others. I can't tell you straight now, but I would certainly ask my ambassador if he would be in touch with him. We have plenty of all sorts of programs, and we would very much appreciate any contribution you would give us. This is probably the last, yeah?
Well, I get the last, so if you want to, you pick.
The last.
No,
Yeah.
I'm going to get the last one. Can you do two
All
more?
right, all right.
Okay, so I guess.
Thank you, President Otunbayeva. I'm Rachel Demmer from Human Rights Watch. I thank you so much for your really insightful remarks just now about the difficult journey that Kyrgyzstan's been through, and I was especially interested to hear some of the thoughts about the future, looking ahead. And I guess I will ask a very, very predictable question, no surprises. Just looking at, in the wake of what happened in the South, Human Rights Watch and other organizations documented some serious, very serious problems that I know you're aware of with regard to the administration of justice in the, with regard to the interethnic conflict. I don't think I need to enumerate what those problems were, but very serious problems, you know, with the administration of justice. And so, and I can't not mention the name of our colleague Azimjon Askarov, who we firmly believe is among those victims of this sort of distorted justice, and who continues to be in prison today. So I'm just wondering, when you look ahead, you talked about the court reform. When you look ahead, and this also links back to Scott's question about impunity, what will you recommend to your successors about what can be done, what needs to be done, what has to be done to stop the impunity for these kinds of abuses and for a better administration of justice?
Rachel, certainly this is one of our serious problems which we inherited from this June conflict, and we are not staying at the place. We are moving. We are trying to make our best. Tortures, as you know, we are working very hard on this topic, and Prosecutor General might have, as you know, young lady, strong lady, and she has invented a lot of things like video screening in for the places of interrogation, for prosecutors for going morning and evening all the time, for popping in and looking for how those, what is the treatment of those prisoners, and I have, I traveled to the Osh, and probably, I don't know other presidents who are going to those detention places and visiting those places. I have visited all these detention places, and then I came back and I gathered all the militia, prosecutor general's office, security, all of them, together with the such oversight committees. We have built such oversight committee at any oversight boards at any ministries. So every ministries, and that was quite pressure also on them, and that sort of activity which we are doing. And as you probably heard, the special rapporteur on tortures will come to Kyrgyzstan to visit us. So those are just some facts. Regarding Azimjan Askarov, as you know that this is more than a year now, it is in the Supreme Court, and it might go ahead, and the whole deal is ready for him to get life sentence. I'm trying to involved into this deal just to give the opportunity to look at again, because when it was at the beginning, the atmosphere was totally different. Right after this, all this such a conflict, and people in Jalalabad been very angry with him, and a lot of evidence show against him. But on his side, those people couldn't come, sounds like, and his advocate tells me all the time that it was, we badly need people on his side. So I would tell you that before my departure, I want to clear up something, and to really to make sure that we made everything possible to make this case considered properly. So I would really try to give you a response in for the days left before my departure. So for the future, I would say that I'll be alive, I'll be around, I'll follow. I'll also try to look and to push and to lead and to criticize and to consider something from right around all these deals. So that's how it is.
Well, now, Rachel, it seems somewhat prompted you to answer a bit my question, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it anyway. You've pointed to the challenges that Kyrgyzstan continues to face. One could argue that the position of ex-president carries its own challenges, but also potentially a great deal of moral authority. Do you have any ideas on how you might be able to use that position to continue to help your country in the future?
Thank you for such a question, Catherine. It's happened so in my country. We are from such a background of Khaganate, let's say, and from Khans and Beks, and never the power was changed peacefully. So everyone was murdered, killed, and so on. And if you would come to the let's say Soviet days again, Soviet story was a story about the Soviet leaders, and then in Kyrgyzstan, Usubaliyev, 23 years, he was the first secretary, and he was swept by Masaliyev, the first secretary. Masaliyev was forced also to leave the office. And then came Akayev, 14 years. Akayev has run away, he lives now in Moscow. And then Bakiyev, after 5 years, he has left also the country, he lives in Belarus. So I'm now leaving the office, and
under slightly different circumstances.
And people in my country, they want very much that I will stay in country, and they want that. They want to have an ex-president. They want to have someone who will stay in Kyrgyzstan and not be. And this is my wish also, and I want to stay with my nation. I don't know regarding moral authority. Yes, my nation considers that it's at the height of the most difficult time in our history of independence. It's happened so that the women became as leader of the country. And that was really at the time of disarray and conflict and blood and split of the country. And I got on the top of the country and brought back everyone to the business of now everything is in order, and I hope that all our gentlemen will lead the country to the prosperity.
Thank you so much, especially in these last hours, days of your presidency, that you found the time to come to Colombia, and I hope that we'll see you again here very, very soon.
Thank you. Thank you for Catherine. Thank you very much to you. Thank you to all the Colombians, because you are happy people. You are at this one of the best universities of the world, and for me, it is matter of proud to come to you and to tell about my country, which is very far away. It was exhausting trip to come to this place, but believe me, we are trying really to make our nation happy and prosperous nation, and I'm sure that when everyone thinks that it doesn't work somewhere in Central Asia, it works only in other countries. I have now such an argument. You should do everything how it is prescribed, you know. The leader, for example, of the country, he should not appoint his relatives to the high position. So he should keep his words, what he promised, and he should work very transparent way. So those rules are should be applicable to any country, and then democracy works. That's my experience.